Okay, real quick, this is Lei Real Talk YouTube channel, and she is a China expert, and she started looking at this thing that happened with Hu Jintao and how he was publicly purged, and she goes in great detail on why she thinks this is a major thing and how the purging of Jintao fits exactly in with her other analysis that's going on. So I picked out 3 clips from this episode of her live stream to go through. I think it's very important for us to understand what's happening in China and see how bad it could get and how quickly it could get that bad. So, all right. Sorry, Chris. Now I'm ready. I'm ready for you, man.
Let's talk about something that's very important, which is what did the CCP vote after Hu Jintao was removed? Right? It was the closing session of the 20th Party Congress. In my mind, the most important thing is the party constitution amendments that Xi Jinping pushed. So they voted to pass 3 amendments, and it's worth spending some time to review what they are, because they will tell us the direction that China is going to. So the first is the party constitution now include what Chinese say the 2 safeguarding and then the 2 establishments. So it's a long CCP jargon. I'm not going to read it. You could read it, but basically it just reaffirm Xi Jinping's core position within the party. It also reaffirms the authority he has within the party, right? It also reconfirms the Xi Jinping thoughts as the guiding wisdom of the party. And the reason this is important for Xi Jinping to include this in the party constitution is that now, if these things are added to the constitution, anyone who's against Xi Jinping, you're basically against the party. You know, the biggest crime that one could commit in China is to be against the party. That's like political crime number 1. So by adding this amendment, he's basically making anyone who could possibly be opposing him to be anti-CCP, and that's a big crime. And the you can watch my video that I released on October 18th, because that video is explained why, adding these amendments to the constitution is very important to Xi Jinping. It's a very detailed. I explained it very detailed in this video. You can watch it. So the second amendment is related to Taiwan. Okay, it added these verbiage. So it basically said, the conference refers to the party Congress. So include basically the fighting spirit, fighting ability of the military, and strengthening the military through political ideas and reforms. Through political ideas, it's hard to translate the language. Basically, it means that the party will guide the military, right? So any military development, any military reform must follow party guidance. Like, it has to be politically correct. So politics rule over military strategies. That's just what CCP. How CCP runs their military. And then it has added 3 adjectives. The one country, 2 system principle is not new, but they added 3 adjectives: comprehensively, accurately, and firmly. So these 3 adjectives is important to Xi Jinping, because then he could interpret them however way he wanted. So if these verbiage are in the party constitution, then he can say, anytime if someone opposes his military strategy, he could say, well, this is not comprehensively implementing one country, 2 system principle, right? This is not accurately implementing one country, 2 systems principle. So these 3 adverbs give him the leeway to interpret his military strategy however he sees fit. Okay, and then then and then he has the Taiwan independence, the one country two system, and the unification of the motherland, all of that added to the party constitution. So the fact that this is added makes me think that, the threat over Taiwan is serious. It is there. Okay, the third amendment he made is concerning the economy, the direction of Chinese economy. Again, common prosperity is mentioned and is added to the constitution. So now, if you don't follow the direction of common prosperity, then you're really against the party. That's a big, big label to be imposed on anyone, right? So, and then it reiterated the internal market chain. It used the Chinese is 内循环. I don't even know how to translate that. It's like basically it will focus, its entire development model will be based on an internal or domestic supply demand cycle. It's not going to rely on as the main support for the economy. And then the mutually reinforcing domestic and international market cycle or chain is only a supplement. So you see, it's going to focus on its domestic 内循环, domestic supply and demand. It tries to cut the tie from the outside world and just be self-sufficient. I think that's the underlying message. So again, by adding this to the party constitution, I think it sends a very strong message to everyone. This is the economic direction that Xi Jinping has for China for the future, at least for the next 5 years. By common prosperity, it's really going back to the planned economy. I think people say this is a very clear message that China is steering away from a market economy and is going back to a planned economy.
All right. So just to recap there, Xi Jinping is the CCP now. Taiwan is an increased interest, and they're going to put more weight on domestic economy over exports and over international trade and turn insular. So those are added to the Constitution now, and I thought that was very interesting. CK, do you have any reaction to that?
So I think that's pretty clear, why as free market advocates, we see this as very dangerous. I want to zoom out even more and talk about how this shows that being able to change the Constitution, change consensus, if you will, easily is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is a superiority of the American system, even against, other Western systems, is that it's very hard to kind of change the protocol. And I think Bitcoin is rooted in that same wisdom, which is that easy change, easily being able to label someone as a criminal against the party, all those kind of things, even if there's consensus around that in the moment, it's not a good thing. And I think from a first principles basis, markets basis, I think, we are seeing the demise and decline of China right in front of us through, you can call it narcissistic or communistic or whatever activity is happening at the top. The centralized decision making is starting to go wrong.
Yeah, awesome. I was thinking the other day that the Constitution, I think I said this on a live stream, that the Constitution, the way we amend our Constitution is kind of like a soft fork, where the Chinese way is kind of the hard fork way to amend it. So that's interesting that you observe the same sort of thing. All right, let's go on to the next clip because these are longer than normal. Apologies, guys.
Great information, though. Great context. Absolutely.
And this one was like, wow, for me. So it gets really good. She builds up through this and really is hard hitting in the last minute of this clip. So, Chris, can you pull up the next one?
This is the guy who heads up the CCP's Central Policy Research Office. And his name is Jiang Jingquan. He replaced Wang Huning in 2020. And this organization, Central Policy Research Office, is said to be the Xi Jinping's brain, shall we say, or the organizations, like his advisor, his political advisor, his policy advisor, right? His great ideas, or supposedly great ideas, come from this organization. So this guy, Jiang Jingquan, is his lead advisor. Okay, and this guy, in a recent interview during the 20th Party Congress, has basically made a comment. I don't know if I have it here. Maybe I have it in Chinese. I'll read it to you. He basically said what Xi Jinping has accomplished in the past 10 years is similar to what Zunyi Conference and the 11th Party Congress, the third session of the 11th Party Congress, have accomplished. So he made an analogy between Xi Jinping's accomplishment to these two major events that happened in the history of the CCP. I want to talk a little bit about the Zunyi Conference, January 1935. It was the event that established Mao Zedong as the CCP leader. At that point, you know, the Red Army was on the brink of being totally defeated. They were on the what they call the Long March. It was basically a devastating point where they were on the brink of total collapse. But there was a meeting held at Zunyi. And at that meeting, it was there was a huge power struggle. Basically, Mao Zedong beat it out the other leader who was backed by the Soviet Communist Party, by the Russian Communist Party, and became the top leader. So that event in January 1995 established Mao Zedong's leadership within the CCP. And then the 11th Party Congress, the third session of the 11th Party Congress, in December 1978, established Deng Xiaoping's leadership. And that was also the official end of the Cultural Revolution. And it's also the starting point of the economic reforms. So when Xi Jinping's top advisor, lead advisor, made an analogy to say what Xi Jinping has done in the past 10 years, or his accomplishment is similar to the accomplishment of these two events, he's basically saying, I want to read his quote. He's saying, here we go. Oh, here it is. He's saying, he's saying the 18th Party Congress, which was Xi Jinping's first party Congress, re-steered this party and then the country back to the correct direction. He said, Mao Zedong in 1935 saved the party at the crucial moment. And then Deng Xiaoping saved the party from collapsing economically, also at a crucial moment in 1978. So he's implying that Xi Jinping also saved the party 10 years ago, or at least steer the party and the country back to the right course. And that's kind of the political direction, the framework, I should say, the political framework that's going to be the basis for Xi Jinping's next 5 years. He is basically clearly saying the economic reform was not wrong in the beginning when Deng Xiaoping started, but in the last 20 years, or the 20 years before he came to power during Hu Jintao and Jiang Zemin's time, it got sidetracked, or it went off in the wrong direction. And it caused serious crisis within the Communist Party. And when he came on board, he steered the party, or he's trying to steer the party back to the right course. And he's doing that to save the regime from collapse. So that's what his whole argument. So I think what we will see is after the party Congress, I think he will take down more Jiang Zemin's people. I think more people from the Jiang faction will be taken down. China will become a more closed society. The economy will return to a planned economy. And basically, to summarize, China will become a supersized North Korea, or is on track to become a supersized North Korea. So this is what I have seen based on.
All right. All right. Yeah. So there, to summarize, she said that this guy compared Xi Jinping to these other parts of history of the CCP where they're on verge of collapse and they were saved by these events, and that Xi Jinping is now saving the CCP once again from collapse, which is very interesting. And then in her at the end, what her conclusion was is that it's going to be a closed society. There was going to be more purges, and that it was going to become China could become a supersized North Korea. And that last quote, supersized North Korea, just like struck me as, wow, man, imagine if that happens and how fast that happens. It's going to be crazy. What are your thoughts on that last clip?
I mean, it really kind of puts things into perspective. We're already seeing these crazy images of just Chinese people queuing up in massive lines to get COVID tested, so that way they can get their green badge, so they can even enter their home. Like, we're seeing just young men and women sleeping on the streets because they didn't pass protocol. Like, that is moving in a insane direction, very much closer to how North Korea operates than how any other market-based, liberty-based, civil, country or jurisdiction operates. So, I'm very interested to see how it plays out. But effectively, this is, and you can see in the amendments that she goes over in the first video, like, they're sweeping the leg on the entire strategy here.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. All right, we're running real close on time. We have one more clip that's 3 minutes. We got time for that?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
How do you see China maintaining their place as second largest economy by becoming isolationist or reclusive? Will they be able to maintain it? Rather, do they intend to maintain second spot? Economy is secondary to Xi Jinping. It's not that important to him. Having prevent the regime from collapse is more important. I always say the China we see from the outside is different from the China these CCP leaders see. Everything we see has been beautified, has been massaged. The data is massaged. Things that they don't want us to know are not revealed. So the dire situation, the dire reality in China is much more serious than the outside world can see. And there was also a discussion. So why people say, well, how could Xi Jinping hold on to power when so many people are against him, right? How could he hold on to power indefinitely? What happened to all the other smart Chinese who don't like him? He has so many people who are not happy. One reason is corruption. Corruption is such a widespread epidemic that people don't have the determination. I mean, the only people who are strong enough to oppose him are the people who really care about the future of China, are the people who really care about Chinese people, right? Only those people have the determination and the courage to be against a dictator like him, to be against the system. All the other CCP officials, they're corrupt. They want to live a good life. They have all the money. somewhere in Swiss account or in the US. They have their families and children living somewhere else in the world. Why do they want to be opposing a system that has given them everything? Right? And if they do that, then Xi Jinping's anti-corruption knife could fall on them. So they don't. They are corrupt. So that's why nobody, is really, taking the chance to oppose him. So to answer your question, economy is not important to him. He wants to hold on to power. He wants the communist model to be successful. He wants to. He truly believes in this model. He truly believes in communism is the best model for the world, and he wants to hold on to power. He wants this model to work, and he wants to roll that out to the world, to the rest of the world, because that's really the essence of what the communist ideology is.
All right. So there she did some Q&A. And just to recap, so she said that Xi does not care about the economy. It's a far distant second place. And to put that in perspective with the how she said that they view Xi as saving the party from collapse, it just seems like the time is running out on this era of China. And people are starting to see it. I've noticed it in tweets. I've noticed it in other places where people are like, oh my God, I didn't realize that China was so Marxist and that this was close to collapse. And now everyone's starting to see that. So CK, any reaction to this final clip?
I mean, you've been on top of this for a long time. When people were saying China is a rising power, even Ray Dalio just a few months ago, you've been calling out that no, it's not, and markets will prevail. That's honestly, in hindsight, it sounds like common sense. But yeah, they're in a bad spot. And throughout all three videos, it was not about what is good for China. It was all about what is good for the CCP. So they're corrupt in their system. Maybe they believe in it, but ultimately, see the incentives. Their system is just good for the CCP, and they're optimizing for the CCP, and they're not optimizing for what is good for the country of China.